Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm bringing back Kale because we are going to walk down memory lane and react to our old displays from when we did our first markets. I thought it'd be really fun to do that since it's been 5 years since our first, no, 4 years. 4 years?
4 years, yeah. It'll be 5
years.
years, I guess, this December.
We did our first show in December 2018, and in this video we're going to take a look at our display and talk about why we had it that way, and then also as we walk through the years coming to present day, we'll talk about the improvements that we made and why we made those decisions. So if you're interested in learning any of that or watching any of that, then keep watching. First up, this was our very first in-person event, and this is a Christmas show that we did in a town. You remember the name? I probably don't remember the name.
It was in Clearview Township, like south of Collingwood, but the little community, I forget it. It was
a tiny town.
Yeah.
So here is our first display. I'll have it over here or somewhere on the screen. I should say that this was before our current company. This is 5 years ago. We were called the Bassett's Soapery.
So yeah, the thing that jumps out at me at first is, of course, that handsome stud standing in the background, me. No, this first display of ours kind of breaks our essential rule of what we say is to kind of stack things and have multiple layers. Everything is just basically flat along the table.
It was our first attempt, and I knew that different levels helped, so I did make an attempt to do that, and you can see that here where I have certain platforms that are a little bit higher than the level right below it. So I remember when I got accepted, there was almost a bit of a scramble to try to figure out what our display would look like. And because I was so new to this, I didn't really have any sense of what our brand was. I don't think we had any particular brand. We just wanted to have a fun way to display our soaps. I think I went to, it's called Winners here. What is it called in the States?
Marshalls,
like a Marshalls?
TJ Maxx, yeah.
And I went into their home section and grabbed as many of those like charger plates and wooden trays as I could find. We had that tray for a long time, and then it eventually broke.
Yeah.
And then behind that I have, it's like a charcuterie wooden board, and those are also really nice platforms for soap, and it really helped display our products, I think, in a beautiful rustic way. If that's your branding, if you're leaning more towards natural, then that's a good idea to do that. I don't know if you can see in the corner there, where right beneath you, that is an upside down soap loaf mold, and on that I put all of our essential oil soaps. And I knew back then that it would be beneficial to both me and the customers if I put the soaps in a specific category. So for example, all of my essential oil soaps are here, or all of my more masculine soaps are here, and that really was a quick way to direct the customer when they came to our table and they were looking for something specific.
Yeah, I can see a lot of the Christmas or seasonal themed soaps are kind of along
they were
back
front
here.
Center, yeah,
and
it was Christmas time.
And I do notice, I see that one of my favorite soaps you ever made, that pine scent, is there in the corner.
Yeah, that was a good soap.
We sold out super quick of that.
Where was that from? It was from Candora. My very first fragrance oils were from Candora, and I love them. One was a pine scent and the other one was a peach Bellini, and those were my very first fragrance oils, and I fell in love with soaping right after using them. I did have some idea of branding, and I knew that I wanted, at the time, yellow as our brand color. And when I saw these yellow aprons in a kitchen supply store, I forget which one it was, I snapped them up and we wore them for a lot of our in-person markets. But I didn't like them. I hated them so much. They were just too big. Like, it fit you fine.
They were even for me, they were big. It wrapped around me like 3 times, but it was definitely better on me than it was on you.
I bought them for a costume, A, but also B, access. I want quick access to change and other things, but I found with this specific apron, it was too tight and I couldn't really access them that easily, so I would just end up putting the change on the table and getting the change that way. I mean, they did look cute. You look really cute there.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So here's a clearer picture of our display without Kale in it. And you have a better view of the upside down soap loaf mold down on the bottom or middle right of the picture. I also remember that for our first display we had these soaps. They were little sample soaps, and I had made them for, I think it was my niece's first birthday, as kind of a like a birthday favor, and I had a bunch left over, so we gave them for free. You can see the word free down there. And actually, that was a great draw to our table. People came because their eyes saw the word free and they zoned in on that. And we did make a few sales that way. That was good.
Yeah.
And next to those were my first attempts at sugar scrubs. I remember we had a grapefruit one and a coffee one. They were really popular. People liked them. But compared to our recipe now, I don't think they were very good. I definitely like our recipe now versus the one we used 4 years ago.
Right, yeah, it's improved.
And here's a little bit more of a closer look at our soaps that were on display. Hand wrapping these soaps took me hours, and I think I stayed up late into the night doing them. And Kale could have helped me, but I'm very particular about how I want things done. So I was by myself doing them, so don't blame him, it was all me. But it took a really long time. I don't know if you can tell, but there's a couple of layers of packaging on this soap. There's like a parchment paper wrap that's around the bottom, and then I tied the label on there with twine. The end result was really cute, but it just took way too long, and I'm glad we changed that up and we don't do that anymore. Another thing you'll notice on this table are these wine glasses full of coffee beans, because I had assumed that if people are smelling things, they want to cleanse their nose palette, and so I had those coffee beans on the table available if people wanted to do that. No one did that. So I don't know if that's a thing, and I don't know if it's worth it for a soap maker to put that little extra touch. And you can barely see it on the table. It kind of cluttered up the table a little bit. We stopped doing that after, I think, the first couple of events.
Yeah, I don't think we did that very long.
Yeah. And here is a quick video of our display, and I remember I wanted plate chargers and trays and even a dessert tray. You'll see that right there. Because my soaps looked like cake, that was kind of my brand as well. I was really confused as to what we were and who our target market was, but I knew that I was leaning towards more of like a food, it looks like cake kind of thing. But the whole display just looks really good, I think, for a beginner, I'd say. And here's a picture of us with our matching sweaters and aprons that I hated. But the fact that we were matching really worked in our favor. People loved that. They stopped at our table just because we had this getup on.
Yeah, Christmassy, got the checkers going and the bright apron kind of jumping off of that. Yeah.
So what you wear matters, for sure.
We're babies.
We're so young. we're so naive. Little did we know where this soap making journey would take us.
Here we go.
So for our first event, after all of that prep, after everything that we did, do you remember how much we made?
I remember. Yeah, I don't remember the exact amount, but it was three in the 320s or 330s. It was over 3 and it wasn't 350.
Yeah.
It was right in between those numbers. I want to say like 328 or something. If I had to give you a number, it would be 328.
Yeah, and I think to vend there was around $25.
Yeah,
it was
wasn't much.
Really cheap.
Yeah.
So we're moving on to our next event, and this was in January of the following year, and it was like a women's speaking event. And this is around the time I'm still very green and new to this, and I just wanted exposure for my brand, so I was saying yes to anything. But this particular event definitely taught me a lot, and that was, don't agree to everything. Just because you want to get exposure, it doesn't mean every single event is a good idea, because this particular event we lost money on, and it wasn't very good for us. It really wasn't my target customer. There were a lot of multi-level marketing type businesses there. There's nothing wrong with that, but for my brand and my company, it was just not really the type of venue that my customers would be going to. But with that being said, I did make a few sales, and some of the customers that I met on that event, they still follow me and they still like my stuff to this day, so that's kind of cool. Here is our display right over here, and the first thing you'll notice is the name change. This was around, I think, yeah, January was when I decided to completely change the name of our company and brand down. I was starting to learn now that I needed to find my target customer, and the Bassett Soapery wasn't cutting it anymore, so I decided Quench was a good name. And I still kept the yellow. You can see the little dot there in the banner. And this is before my future rebrand, which is when I started to add hemp seed oil. So I think here I was still focusing on, it looks like cake kind of an idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even to the point where you have vegan skin food in there, and the fact that that word food in there, and it still kind of looks like desserts, I remember confused a lot of people still. Yeah.
So I was still trying a few things, and when you're just starting out and you don't have very many customers, that's the time to do it, to figure out what's working and what's not. And this is my soaps look like food phase, I would say, of my company evolution.
Yeah.
In terms of display, it's still the same idea. We still have the big tray in the front, the dessert tray in the back, and I have some free samples. We're still wearing those yellow aprons, so that survived the company name change. But I still think it looks sharp. I like the yellow.
Yeah.
I'm still drawn to yellow to this day. But we've since removed it as like our highlight feature color in our company.
Right.
And here's a picture of our soaps, and yeah, you can see how it definitely looks food-like, incredibly so. I think we definitely got a few comments like, is this fudge?
Ooh,
is this soap?
fudge, yeah.
And I don't know if you can tell in the bottom corner there, that is our butter tart soap that we did not sell very much of. Did we sell any of it? I feel like we didn't sell a single bar. No one wanted butter tart soap.
We made it before the Butter Tart Festival, huh?
I think it's because we had moved to Midland, and Midland is known for its butter tart
Yep.
festivals. We wanted a product that spoke to the town that we lived in, and that was our soap at the time. This is before Georgian Bay. Here's another picture of our soaps.
They're great pictures. I see the French lavender in there and grapefruit sunrise.
Yeah, when you have them in a row like that, it looks really eye-catching. So after that event where we lost money and we were a little discouraged, we kept going, and I tracked down a local farmer's market that we could vend at. And I was really eager to do this particular farmer's market because it was literally down the street from where we lived. And I knew that getting our products out in the community that we lived in was a really great way to start getting a local customer base going. So here is our display for the farmer's market, and you can see that I really wanted to amp up the elevation of my soaps and change up the different levels. I got this shelf that you can see over to the left side of this picture from IKEA. It's like a shelf or console unit that you would stick to your desk. I bought it, and we used it to display our soaps, and it looks really good.
We used it for years, yeah.
Yeah, we used it until it broke on us.
It was wobbly, the wind, like it was we got our use out of it.
It's IKEA though, you kind of expect it to break down over time, but even though it looked great, it wasn't very easy to tote around. You can fold it, you couldn't break it down. So we had to put it in our car like that, which is why it eventually did break.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you can see on the right hand side, there's a plant there on a pedestal. I was trying everything to make our display as interesting as possible, as being really experimental. That white sheet behind the plant, that's actually a part of the IKEA shelf on the left hand side, and I use that as kind of like a blocker that will help our product stand out more. And front and center is that tray still with our soaps. In the middle right side of this photo, you can see we have samples of our body butters on there, and that was really great for getting people to try our body butters. This is pre-COVID time, people are still wanting to touch things, so having that there was really, really beneficial. But do you remember what we made on our very first farmer's market? Because I do. $35.
$35, yep.
And how long is it? It's like 5 hours?
4 hours, yeah.
4 hours?
9 to 1, yeah.
If you can imagine standing there for 4 hours watching. Actually, this farmer's market isn't very well attended. I don't know if you can tell from this picture, but it's indoors, first of all, and it's February. Maybe 50 people came to this farmer's market on this day, and maybe 2 bought from us. So you could imagine us standing there. Every time someone walked by, we're just like, and people literally be like, just scuttling by. Because it's such a small farmer's market, people had their people, and they would go to the people that they bought their regular stuff from and would leave. You could see that and be totally discouraged and not want to go again, because what a waste of time. But what we found was, if you just show up and start talking to people, they'll eventually, their curiosity will get the better of them, and they'll come to your table eventually.
People will eventually acknowledge your presence.
About you.
Yeah.
Even if they're passing by your table, always try to make a good impression. Smile, say hi, say good morning. So here are some close-ups. You can see how pretty the white shelf looks with our soaps against it. And I know white is a very high maintenance color to place your stuff on because you'll probably be constantly cleaning it, and if it ever gets stained, it's going to be stained for life. But I think in terms of a display, it's the best color in my opinion for soaps and bath and body and skincare. And here's a close-up of that tray. I love that tray. I was so sad when we broke it.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember how it broke?
No, just transport and just knocking things around.
It wasn't the most stable. At some point we put like bins of bath bombs on there and it wasn't stable. Yeah.
So I got these black signs from Amazon. I'll link that in my description box, but we wrote on them with chalk marker, and those are really a really good way of communicating to people who are passing by and didn't want to talk to us and letting them know what was on the table. And you need that, I think, because not everyone's going to be outgoing or want to talk to you. So have your table communicate as much as possible to the customer as it can without you having to say anything.
Yeah.
And here's a close-up of our body butters. And here's our very first iteration of raspberry vanilla soap. And we still sell the soap to this day. It doesn't look like this anymore, but it's very close. And this is a dessert tray I got from Winners. And it was also really annoying to bring to places because you couldn't collapse it, you couldn't fold it. It was like in this really awkward shape all the time. And here's citrus colada. I don't know if you guys noticed in this picture, but it was so annoying to wrap them in parchment paper that I eventually just started just doing the twine thing, and that was it. And the soap still sold really well. Wrapping stuff is not your thing. Selling soaps naked is still an option. People will still buy your soaps. So here is our fourth event, and it was in a town called Tapatu. It was at a resort. Remember, we had a really good Christmas market, a terrible January event, women's market, and a pretty bad first farmer's market. And so we were kind of on the ropes, wanting a win. So when this opportunity came by to vend for 3 days at this resort, we jumped at it. And we're like, for sure, this is going to be guaranteed a good event. It wasn't. This was pretty bad as well. So you can see we had our display and our soaps, and I just started to make bath bombs. So that was exciting. That was a new addition.
This was branded as kind of like a Valentine's Day event. It was called like Lover's Lane or something like that.
Yeah, so something cheesy like that. And we thought, okay, January is not really a time of year where people are buying soap, so we understood the slow sales. And even the farmer's market, it was in the very beginning of February. We didn't really have Valentine's stuff, so yeah, our sales weren't great then. But for this one, we were like, okay, it's Valentine's Day. People are definitely gonna be buying things. And I think we had a few Valentine's Day themed scents like Love Spell. One downside about this event was the fact that it had a lot of multi-level marketing vendors. Again, not where our target customer would normally be shopping. It was really poorly attended. Barely anybody walked through this, and one of the worst things about it was I had already signed up for another event at this venue with the same organizer, and that was an Easter event.
Yep.
So after this, we were gutted, and because we had that to look forward to now in Easter, and it was another 3-day event. But before that Easter event, we still had this farmer's market that we were going to weekly, and I wanted to show you our few improvements that we made, because there were quite a few, because we were learning, we were evolving and trying different things. And the first thing that you'll notice is that my body butters are now on this spice organizer and add a little bit more element of interest to our table. And this definitely worked to bring people to that area of the table to try out the body butters. And another thing you'll notice is that I invested in these easels from Michaels, and they were expensive, but they worked so well in helping more people know what was on our table. And I upgraded from chalk markers to neon ones, and that was really crucial to getting people to really notice what was on our table. And here's that infamous IKEA shelf. This is a video of our display, and I started to display my bath bombs in these little tins that I got from the dollar store, and that was a great part of our table too. People zeroed in on that pretty easily. And this is around the time, around April, that people started to buy from us regularly, and those looky-loos were converting into people that were chatting with us now and buying more and more of our stuff. And once they tried the lip balm, next time we saw them, they wanted to try soap. And then the next time we saw them, they wanted to get stuff for their friends. And it just snowballs from there. But remember, we had our first one the 3rd of February. It's now April. In between that, it was some brutal market days where we saw very few sales. We had just gotten accepted to the Butter Tart Festival too, which is a big deal because we had attended the Butter Tart Festival before we even lived in Midland. It's a destination town because of this festival, and because I had that to look forward to, I was really wanting to improve my display and trying different things so that by the time we did get to the Butter Tart Festival, I was as ready as I could be. So jumping ahead, we are now in June at the Butter Tart Festival, and we've really upped our game now. We've added another table. And when it came to that tray, we weren't just displaying things flat on it anymore. We were elevating the products even further by resting the tins that we have our bath bombs in on the edge, so it angled the product to the customer. And we still have that shelf from IKEA present. And a few changes that we made at this point were we were highlighting the hemp oil that we were using in our products. Now it was a part of our brand and a huge part of our company, and we were yelling it from the rooftops with that sign.
Yep, we were still using that.
Bright at one point.
We were still using that sign up until last year.
Yeah. Yeah. And having a giant sign like that at an event or a farmer's market, I think is totally crucial to making people stop and come into your table. So that Butter Tart event was June of 2019. We are going to jump ahead 3 years because it stayed like that for a while and we made changes incrementally over time, but we wanted to compare that table to this table. And this is November 18th of 2021, one of our last events that we did. Actually, the last event.
Yep.
And this was at St. Marie among the Hurons in Midland. And even though we made a lot of changes to our table, there were a few things that we still did the same. And one of them was how we displayed our bath bombs. Over here, we still have that tray with the tins that are tilted upwards, but we added another tin underneath that tray to even lift that up even more so that it was even closer to our customers' eyes. But a big upgrade were these risers. And I remember for the longest time, I didn't know where to get them. I knew exactly what I wanted, but I had no idea where to buy them from. And I think it was on Etsy that I discovered that people made these collapsible risers. And they were expensive to me, but I still made the investment and they were so worth it because I think after we got these risers, our sales really started to pick up when it came to in-person farmers markets and events. They're just really great. They really bring the products up to people's eyes and it makes your table look so much more professional. A huge benefit to these risers as well was I mentioned that they are collapsible, so they were very easy to take apart and store in our car and bring out again. I did add the tape at the edge so that the product wouldn't slip off.
Right, yeah, yeah.
And since that first event, we have since added shampoo, conditioner bars, lotion,
facial scrubs, facial masks.
We've really expanded, but it has taken us years to get to that point. 4 years between 2017 to 2021 of development and evolution and trial and error and losses and wins, more losses than wins. But if you keep at it, you will start to see an evolution in yourself, in your products, and how you display everything. And we're still in that evolution stage. We're still trying to figure it out. But that's what separates a business that's been there for years, them and people who are just getting into it and their motivations are to make a quick buck and they quit because it's just so discouraging, which it absolutely is. I'm not saying that we weren't discouraged. I'm not saying there weren't times where I said to you, I want to quit. There were many times I said that, but we kept at it, and I'm really happy with the customer base that we've built and continue to build and the evolution our company has taken on, and I can't wait to see where it goes. It's continuing to evolve. So who knows what other kinds of products we'll have down the line, what other kinds of scents. So that is it. I really hope you guys enjoyed this walk down memory lane of our company's evolution, and I hope that you guys can relate if you have gone through that same journey. And if you do, please let us know your stories down in the comments below. And if you're just starting, I really hope that this is an inspiration to you if you have no sales coming in right now and you just don't see where this company is going. If you stick with it and you just resolve to improve and to keep going, it will go somewhere. But if you stay the same, I'm pretty sure we would have not have seen the huge jumps in our revenue if we did not force ourselves to figure it out and see what worked, what didn't, removed what didn't, and then added new things just to keep testing and seeing what could happen. And I wanted to use this time to give our patrons a quick shout out. Our Patreon is in the description box if you want to throw Kayla and I a little bit of extra support. And everyone who has already done that, thank you. You guys are amazing. And I just really have been enjoying that Patreon so much, and the things that I talk about on there that I don't get to talk about on here, that has really helped to improve me as a creator and also me as a business owner. So thank you, especially my Bubble BFFs, these guys. Your messages and support, they are invaluable to me and I am so appreciative. You guys are awesome. So that is it. Until the next video, keep smiling, keep being awesome, and keep making beautiful, amazing, unique things. And I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.
Goodbye.